Starting off with your top 3 at 3 on a Friday, we're talking about everything from the RFK Stadium project to cracking down on homeless people in D.C. in one very specific spot. But right now, kicking it off with the big story of the day. 2 communities calling for justice. And they're going to hold a vigil this evening for a Manassas mother. Mamta Kafle Bhatt was last seen 2 years ago. Her husband, Naresh Bhatt, is accused of killing her, dragging her body out of their Manassas Park home. Her body still has not been recovered. His trial, though, is set for October. For the latest on this, joined by Tom Moronic, a Baltimore-based criminal defense attorney. Tom, thank you so much for being with us.
It is a pleasure to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Of course. You know, this case has been so closely watched over the last 2 years. It's hard to believe that time has already passed. The defense has asked several times for delays. What, are we going to expect as the trial comes in just a couple of months now?
Well, the defense is trying to make this a circumstantial case. That's really what this is about. They want to show that they really don't have the evidence that connects the suspect with the allegation murder. That's really what it amounts to. And the delays obviously help defense because any delay, there could be some version of the events that's forgotten by witnesses, people that could testify to some of the circumstantial behavior. Every delay helps the defense.
Yeah, and as we mentioned, it's been 2 years since the day she went missing. No body has been recovered. How difficult is it to prove a murder conviction, get a conviction in a case where there's no body?
It's very difficult when you don't have a body. Get in and say, when there's no body, it's a situation where they just simply can't easily tie it together. They can't say, okay, well, here's the marks that suggest strangulation. Here's the mark that suggests this was a murder with a weapon. You don't have that in a case where there is no body. You don't have the physical evidence that you would normally have. And I think that's very important if you are trying to prove a case to be able show how the deceased actually died.
Yeah, so how much more difficult does that make it for the prosecution?
Without a body, have any of that. It's all circumstantial.
How much more difficult does that make it for the prosecution?
Far more difficult, because they're going to have to trace the whereabouts of the accused, where he went, what he did. Going to have to follow through to show exactly what he during the time when they say that the murder happened. And if they can't connect the dots very well, that helps the defense, because a defense attorney can say, well, look, there's reasonable doubt. There's no connection as to what happened.
All right, Tom Moronic, criminal defense attorney, joining us now live. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. And again, 2 vigils for Mamta Kafle Bhatt tonight. Her case has rocked the community there in Manassas for 2 years now. Still a lot of questions remaining. Tom, thank you. Moving on, another chance to weigh in on the RFK campus master plan. It is a key step at bringing the commanders back to the district. And tomorrow, an in-person public hearing takes place in Southeast. We're bringing in Brian Hanlon with the Department of Buildings, the director and project executive for RFK Development. Brian, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so we're letting the public kind of give their input as we develop not just the stadium, but this master plan, which includes housing and retail and just a complete redevelopment of this area. What do people need to know?
Well, people need to know that we're continuing our engagement with the community. We've had over 33 meetings. We've talked to nearly 2,000 people, and tomorrow at 1 p.m. live at St. Coletta's off Independence Avenue, the Office of Planning will be hosting a feedback session. No formal presentation. It's all about engagement. Okay. And if you also want to make comments on the master plan, it's still available online. If you go to our website, which is ourrfk.dc.gov, that's ourrfk.dc.gov. It's actually pretty easy to find. You'll see the master plan, and there's instructions for how to leave comments on that. So in either case, we want to continue to hear from the community. It's been an incredible process of getting feedback, and it's really informed the quality of what we're doing there.
what is some of the resounding? I mean, are you hearing anything resounding and over again from these 30-plus meetings that folks want you to pay attention to?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say, to be honest, one resounding thing is this overall sense of enthusiasm for the project itself, a real kind of embracing of what's the opportunity here for the housing, for the stadium, for the kind of quality of life and amenities that are coming up. And some of the theme break down to wanting to make sure that there's the kind of unstructured open space and opportunities for being able to enjoy street front retail, the river, access to the river. And if you look at the master plan, what you're going to see is an enormous amount of open space and vistas and visual connectivity from one portion of the site to another. And those are things that have come from community feedback. The other thing I'd say is a real emphasis on a kind of multimodal development. So as you saw this week with Metro, plans to upgrade the Stadium Army Metro. There's a Gold Line BRT, a rapid bus line planned along H up to Benning, right into the site. Those things are going to play together to really improve the way you can get to the stadium. I'm going to walk. I live about 8 blocks away. Folks will be able to ride. Yeah, lucky me, right? Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, there has been so much talk about Metro buses. Parking has been, always a point of contention. It's like, okay, do we need to have these massive parking structures for 8 football games a year, or is that space better serving the community that is there 365?
Well, I'd say this. One is, I don't think there's an overemphasis on parking structures on the site. The first phase of the development will include about 8,000 spaces, and that's not an enormous amount of parking, and I think it's going to be able to fold into the development. But the other thing is that it's really more than the 8 or 10 plus events a year that are NFL related. This is an enclosed structure, and there's going to be perhaps 200 events a year that are going to draw people, various sizes of events, probably ranging from 5 or 10,000 all the way up to the perhaps even beyond stadium capacity if there's something happening outside. So there's a range of sizes. And I think it's nothing here is going to sit idle too long. So there's a lot of activity on this site.
Absolutely. We know it is going to be such a game changer for the community. Walk us through kind of what is next. We had heard initially that target date was 2030. Are we still on track? I know you're doing these public hearings, and we've seen more and more renderings as the weeks go by.
Yeah, we continue. We're going through an entitlements process with NCPC, the National Capital Planning Commission, and the Commission of Fine Arts, and we just got concept approval for the stadium a few weeks ago. Continuing to work through that process. We're going to continue with community engagement, and what we're going to start to see on site, there's the kind of phase 1 of the infrastructure work is relocation of a storm sewer line, and that work is essentially already underway, which is really exciting. Events DC, which has managed the demolition of the old stadium, and by the way, I think over 95% of that, or close to it, was actually recycled back into the construction industry. So it was really great job on them. But the design is well underway. They're into design development now, and we're gonna keep the momentum.
Yeah.
Next spring, we'll have kind of a official groundbreaking for the stadium itself. And we've got a great team and, frankly, a great collaboration with the commanders as we work together.
And I know you said design development is well underway. So with these public hearings, is there still an opportunity for residents and community members to have their say, to have things potentially changed?
Oh, absolutely, because the stadium itself, I mean, essentially the footprint of the stadium is approved. The stadium concept is approved. And when I talk about design development, I'm really talking about the stadium itself. The parking garages they've just hired an architect, and they're kind of getting underway with that. But in terms of community feedback, it's all still relevant, and a lot of that feedback is informing the overall master plan itself. So the overall configuration of the kind of the internal street network and the retail and other development, all of that is still being influenced by the ongoing engagement with the community.
Okay, so still time to get your say in. That in-person hearing taking place tomorrow. Brian Hanlon with the Department of Buildings, thank you so much for your insight. We are so excited for what is to come.
We are excited too. Thank you so much.
All right, staying in the district, starting next week, more enforcement at MLK Library to stop homeless people from sleeping outside the building. It follows a pilot program that is similar to past efforts. We're going to bring in Chi-Rong Kuo and Catherine Kitely. These are reporters at Street Sense Media. Thank you both for joining us.
Hi, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so walk us through kind of who is doing the enforcement and who decided this was something that was needed.
Yeah, so the library police began the 90-day pilot program, and the library told us that they enforce these rules related to the loggia, which is the overhang above the MLK library, because conditions in that area have created a barrier to participation. So they cited problems like intimidation, urination, theft, and violence, and so that's kind of the reason they've enforced this program for 90 days.
Okay, so if you've ever been in that area, you know there are so many homeless people that have made that kind of their safe haven. They have made that their spot. Why this time? What's different now?
Yeah, we're not really sure. Advocates have speculated and told us that it might be related to the federal occupation to America 250, but the library did not talk to us specifically about a recent incident. They just said that it was citing concerns to barriers to participation.
And Catherine, what are they doing practically here? Are they removing people? Because a lot of times when we saw when President Trump took office, he made it a point to clear out homeless camps around D.C. One thing we saw was that they would clear one out, it would pop up elsewhere. Is that what we're kind of seeing? We're shifting the problem to another spot?
Yes, well, what's actually happening is this is kind of increasing more enforcement than they've ever had. There's like more physical ropes and barriers separating people, and there is police presence, at least I think 2 police cars every night there the entire night. And so that is kind of an increase in what they've done before. And so while when we were speaking with people who have previously slept under there, they said that no one has tried to go under those barriers and try to sneak under and sleep under there. So there hasn't been any retaliation, if you will, so far. But people, because I think of the police presence, people are really not crossing that barrier. But I do think that the police wouldn't hesitate to move people back across the sidewalk if they tried to.
Gotcha. Reporters with Street Sense Media about the movement of homeless folks outside of MLK Library. Thank you so much. We appreciate you and your reporting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're taking a quick break. Don't go anywhere. We're just getting started with the DMV Zone. Back right after this.